Please stand by. Your program is about to begin. Good day and welcome to the Deltek First Project Execution in the Cloud conference call. Today's conference is being recorded. At this time, I would like to turn the conference over to Leslie Stefanik. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We are going to discuss Deltek First Project Execution in the Cloud today. There will be a brief PowerPoint presentation followed by a demonstration, a live demonstration of Deltek First. We will have a Q&A session following the demonstration. That is going to be handled via the live meeting toolbar. As you can see on this slide, you can ask your question. We will take those questions at the end and answer them individually. If there's any that we can't get to during the time allotted, we will get with you offline. And our first speaker today is Deltek's Tony D'Ambrisi. He's our product director for Deltek First. Tony, take it away.
Hi, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm Tony D'Ambrisi. I'm the Deltek First product director. I'm also joined here today by Dave Corbin, who's our systems engineer. As Leslie said, I'll take us through a few slides very quickly, and then I'll turn it over to Dave. He's going to do a demo for us on the project execution in the cloud. So I want to start by taking a step back and introducing us to the project lifecycle slide for Deltek First. So this slide's really important. This is how we solve our customer problems and really develop our product roadmaps here at Deltek. You'll hear us talking about helping you win more business, helping you do more, and helping you know more. And you see on the ribbon here, win more is all about helping companies identify the right opportunities, provide you with tools to build winning teams and write winning proposals. So there's a whole section of Deltek First that really helps you achieve those objectives. Do more is all about helping you manage your projects and your business. And today, that's where we're going to focus. Dave's going to show us how we can help you manage your projects better with some of the tools available under the Deltek First. And then there's know more. And so in future webcasts, you'll hear us talk about how we can help you understand your business performance better with some of the tools that we have available to us, like Premier Analytics in the Deltek First suite. And of course, alluding to the fact that all of this is available in the cloud, you see the backdrop here for the life cycle it's in the cloud there. So let's go to the next slide. And really, Deltek First provides everything a small to mid-sized government contractor needs to be successful. We help you with your business development. We talked about winning more. We have tools available under Deltek First to help you really pursue and win new government contracts. We cover the back office with tools that allow you to bid and perform on all different types of government contracts, including cost plus, T&M, fixed price. Really, we hear this a lot where really this provides a lot of confidence to prime contractors that if you're using the Deltek First suite, you're ready and you're serious about the government contract business. A lot of your operational complexity is also solved with the Deltek First suite. We're going to see that here today where the project execution package really helps you operate and manage those projects that you have and manage your employees and all the way flowing all the way through to making sure that you're reporting on and managing those projects to their fullest. So just quickly, we mentioned the Deltek First is really designed and built for the small to mid-sized government contractors. It's really, we look at it as it's the first full suite for the small to mid-sized government contractors that's all available in the cloud. This is a complete SaaS solution. So there's a lot of benefits to the SaaS solution that we wanted to touch on today. One, there's low initial costs. No longer do you have to buy a perpetual license of the product. You're buying this on a term basis where you pay as you go. And so we've done away with those big upfront costs for you. Upgrades, we manage the software. We manage the application. So we're providing all the updates, all the patches. So it really doesn't increase any of your IT costs. We handle that for you. Access, especially in small to mid-sized businesses, a lot of your staff and your employees are located all over the country and sometimes all over the world. Well, here you have global access with the SaaS solution. You can access the software anywhere, anytime you need it. And then, of course, shorter deployment times. We'll talk about the project execution package. We can have it up and running within 24 hours. That's up and running, stood up, and ready for you to start your implementation within 24 hours. So we feel like that's very quick, gets you going, and gets to the point where you can have it implemented and really receiving all those benefits of the package in a very short amount of time. And so today, we mentioned we're going to focus on the project execution package, and there's 3 areas that Dave Corbin will take us through. The first one, he'll touch on the real-time project management reporting. So this solution comes with a full set of project management reports that are real-time, delivering you the project managers information that they need to make critical business decisions on their projects. We're going to talk about time collection, about how your employees are going to enter their time, how this flows right in directly into the billing of these projects. And then, of course, expense management when your employees are traveling and how we can meet all of those compliance needs for your employees traveling on business travel. So at that point, I'll turn it over to Dave, and he's going to take us through a demo of the project execution package.
All right, and thanks a lot, Tony, and good afternoon, everybody. Again, to introduce myself, as Tony mentioned, I'm the systems engineer for Deltek first. And what I'll do now, I'm going to transition right out of the slide deck and right into a live demo environment. We'll actually take a look at the exact items that Tony just discussed with you. So what we're looking at here is essentially the Deltek First portal. This is essentially your command center for accessing all of your various solutions that you choose to license within the Deltek First umbrella. Today, as Tony mentioned, we're going to focus specifically on the project execution package comprised of 3 elements. Project managers reporting, or project team reporting, giving the project team a unique and direct access to all the reports that they need to effectively manage their projects. And then from a transactional perspective, we're going to take a look at your time collection and expense, so electronic time collection and expense that integrates seamlessly with your back office GCS Premier. Okay. So to dig right in, where I'm going to begin is right with PM reporting. So I'll go ahead and click on my link there, and it's going to take me right to my login screen for entering the project management reporting portal. So here I'll just enter my user-specific credentials here. Oops. Now I'll enter the correct user credentials. That was to demonstrate the security features, but just kidding. Anyway, so the first thing we're going to do when we come into the project management portal is select the project for which we want to run our reports. Now, if the project team user or user for the reporting portal is familiar with your project numbers right out of GCS Premier, they would simply select a contract number. The various tasks available within that contract number will then appear for selection. Not to fear, if they do not know the project numbering scheme, they also have a very quick search feature that allows them to quickly and easily filter through the specific projects to which they have access within the system. So you note I mentioned that they have access. We do have full security capabilities built right in. You can easily limit access to projects based on who the project manager is or project number, whatever you want to do. And you can even limit the specific reports that each user has access to as well. Now, once we select that project, you're going to notice just below the project selection area of the screen, it's what we refer to as the project summary. It's going to include some high-level information about the project you've selected, including the project title, customer name, contract number, period of performance, project manager, as well as our funding information. Then on the right side of the screen, you see a variety of reports that are available. Okay, our reports are going to be divided between our cost analysis tab, which is going to be all of our historical reporting, just in essentially a grid-based raw form, and we'll definitely dig into a lot of those here in a few minutes. And then under supplemental reports, we have some additional reports as well. Now here, many of you are probably noticing we have some other grayed out aspects to the program. The program is very scalable. So included with the project execution package is the PM reporting portal we're looking at. You can choose at any time to upgrade that portal to our full budgeting and planning application, which includes all of the grayed out functions you see there. So very scalable based on your project management needs. So where we'll start, we'll take a look at some specific reports more tailored to, first of all, projects you manage on a cost basis. So these are going to be more your cost reimbursable, firm fixed price type projects. The first report I'm going to show you here, we're going to run at the highest level. And here it's going to show me at the contract level a summary for each of my contracts, a one-line summary. We see the contract number, contract title, period of performance, project manager, total funded cost. So this is not including any funded fee or our total funding if our funded cost varies from that amount. And then we then have our real-time cost funding remaining. And the way we're able to accommodate that is here within our cost reporting structure in the PM reporting portal, we include not only posted costs from GCS Premier, but also commitments. And those commitments are going to be comprised of any hours on open timesheets and time collection that have not been posted or approved or processed. Okay, so essentially hours on timesheets through as recent as typically yesterday. Any expense authorizations that might be approved or any pending expense reports, as well as historically, just as we have today in GCS Premier, commitments to account for any outstanding purchase order values as well. So when we add that to our posted costs in GCS Premier, it's going to give us essentially a real-time inception-to-date cost, allowing us to easily assess our cost funding remaining. Again, here I'm looking at this report at the contract level. I can easily click on a contract number to drill into the task level, in which case here we're seeing a report just like the other one, same format, but at the task level for the contract we've selected. You'll notice within each of these reports, next to the contract number and task number respectively, you also see a red button there. That allows us a secondary type of drill down. If I drill down on that red button here at the contract level, it allows me to begin drilling into my costs on that contract. So I first see them segregated between labor, materials and subs, and ODCs. From a column perspective, I can see my inception to date total, again my commitments, as well as my most recent 7 accounting periods. Up at the top, you see a button that says all periods. I can simply click that button to see a month-by-month history of the cost on my project for the full period of performance to date, even if it spans multiple fiscal years. Then you also notice these line items have drill-in capability. So if I drill into each line item, it's going to show me my cost by account. I can then drill in again to see my loaded labor by employee, as well as my loaded costs for each of my non-labor vendors. You'll also notice any of the reports we review in here have a quick and easy Excel export button at the top of the screen. So while we're viewing everything over the web, everything we're going to take a look at today is entirely web-based, as Tony mentioned. We can easily export any of this information right down to Excel on the local machine. You see, we also have some additional reports here. Depending on how you want to manage your project, we have labor hours analysis, labor costs, raw costs versus burden costs, transaction analysis. So to dive in a little more on this report, say, for instance, that report we just ran. If we notice that our travel cost for July was higher than expected, we could easily run the transaction analysis report, identify the start and end date that we want to review, and specifically target that suffix and be able to quickly and easily see all the transactions that meet that criteria. Below that, we also have a full billing profile. So here I can quickly and easily see all the invoices that we've sent to the customer, invoice date, amount invoiced, amount received. We have a project cost chart that allows us to assess our cost to date in a chart format. So here you see our total funding is the green line at the top. Total cost to date, inception to date cost is the solid blue line. Inception to date labor cost is the blue dashed line. And then we also have bars for each of our 7 most recent accounting periods. Total labor is the darker of the 2 shades, non-labor is the lighter. Now for T&M, or fixed price level of effort projects, we have specific reports tailored to those. The first one's our T&M billable revenue breakdown. Gives the user full visibility into the billable breakdown for the project so they can see it by labor category, inception to date billable value, as well as the most 7 recent accounting periods, as well as for all their non-labor. They can also drill in to see that by by employee within each labor category, and also by vendor for any non-labor by account. Directly below that is our T&M labor analysis report. This is going to allow us to drill into our labor categories for any date in the history of the project to assess on a current period, year-to-date, and inception-to-date basis our total hours, total loaded cost, total billable value, and associated profit for that labor category. On an inception-to-date basis, we can also see profit percent. We can then drill into any labor category to see the same information for each employee that's been charging to that labor category. So here you can quickly pinpoint any unprofitable employees and quickly assess if you can get them qualified in a higher rate labor category, or maybe even backfill them on the project. Moving over to supplemental reports, I'm sure many of you on the line are familiar with the job summary reports out of GCS Premier. We also have job summary reports built right into PM reporting that gives us full visibility throughout the complete history of the project, and also gives us full visibility to our commitments, again, associated with hours on open timesheets. As you see here, we have labor commitments, as well as any expense commitments from the expense interface. Furthermore, we can actually drill into some of these line items to see labor hours by employee or non-labor costs by vendor. And also, up in the header itself, we've actually added a couple fields. So we have an inception-to-date invoiced amount and the amount of your open receivables included right in the header. Some other reports we have here are labor analysis, non-labor detail, and then, of course, full commitment reporting as well. So that's our PM reporting, or project reporting portal, included with the project execution package. What I'm going to do now is navigate right back to my Deltek First portal, and this is where I'm going to access my time and expense interface. To do so, you see right under the type of user, in this case, employee access, we're going to have quick and easy to all the links for that user, including, in this case, time and expense. I'll then enter my credentials for time and expense, and that's going to bring me right into the system. It's going to bring the user to whatever their default screen is within the system. I say 90% of the time, employees typically want to use their timesheet, so I see most clients set that up as the default for their employees when they roll the system out. So the timesheet itself, first of all, in the header, you see the employee name. In this case, I'm logged in as Eric York. You then see the class of the employee. Now, the class of the employee is going to allow us to group our employees into logical groups based on common attributes around which we can build validation rules and procedures. For instance, here, I'm a salary regular exempt employee. If we submit weekly timesheets, I may want to put a rule in place to make sure that anybody in this group that submits a timesheet is going to have at least 40 hours on that timesheet. In addition, I can determine how I want to enforce that rule. Do I want to provide the employee a warning if they don't meet that rule, in which case it'll give them a custom message that I can prompt them with, but it'll still allow them to submit their timesheet. I can, as an alternative, set that up as an error, in which case it's going to give them a message and it's not going to allow them to submit their timesheet until they comply. Now, moving over to the right side of the header, we have the status of the timesheet as well as the revision. So included right within time collection are a variety of compliance tools. I think we all know that timesheets are probably one of the most audited functions within our businesses with DCAA. And obviously, corrections to timesheets are right up there on probably the top 3 things they audit. Anytime we do a correction to a timesheet, DCAA wants to know what correction was made, why it was made, who made it, and who approved it. So for that reason, we have the audit function in the timesheet. So here I can click on the audit function, quickly see any revisions that have been made to the timesheet, exactly which line items were changed, how they were changed, the explanation, who performed the revision, and who approved it. And that's going to stay with the timesheet indefinitely. Now, some other audit capabilities we have built right in. For instance, DCAA doesn't like it when we charge time into the future. They tend to question our accuracy in doing so. Okay, so we have a validation you can put in place that will restrict employees from entering hours in any day past today, with the obvious exceptions of vacation or holiday. Now, probably the most popular thing that DCAA loves to focus on with timesheets is daily entry of time. We also have a utility built right into the application that you can schedule to automatically run on a daily basis, typically first thing in the morning. It's going to automatically identify the employees that haven't entered time for the previous day. You can then automatically generate an email to them, copying a supervisor or another user, prompting them to come in and enter their time. So that's kind of an overview of some of the DCAA compliance tools we've built right into the system to help you stay compliant with DCAA from a time and expense perspective. Now, in the body of the timesheet itself, you see we have a variety of charge codes associated with each line on the left side of the timesheet, and then we simply enter hours on the right side of the timesheet. We can set up charge codes to automatically load into our timesheet. We can do that, or it can be done as an administrative function. We can also, if we need to, search for charge numbers. So to look at the charge number, I simply click on the binoculars in that field. I can then either filter through my charge numbers using a search at the top, or quickly navigate down through a charge tree at the bottom of the screen. In this case, if I want to access a contract charge number, I can click on Contract. That's going to show me all of the contracts that I am authorized to charge. I can then drill into any of those contracts to see the charge numbers that pertain to me. And all of this is controlled right in GCS Premier. So these charge numbers and who is authorized to charge them flow right over from GCS Premier. Another feature with the integration with GCS Premier are your leave accruals. Your leave accruals are going to flow right over. We can then assess for any of our 4 leave types by employee what their current balance is, as well as their year-to-date transactions, so any beginning balance, any accruals, and any days they've taken off. Also on the topic of leave, we also have a leave request feature built right into the application. So if an employee wants to take leave, they can quickly navigate over to their work schedule, simply click the days for which they'd like to request leave, and then select the Request Leave button at the top of the screen. That's going to automatically prompt whoever needs to approve their leave to do so. Once they do so, those days will show up green in their timesheet to signify that approval of leave. They'll also be receiving an email to alert them of the same. You see down in the key in the bottom of the screen, your holiday schedules will be included, so you can see all your holidays shaded in yellow. And we also have non-work days scheduled in gray for ease of use, or you can actually restrict employees from being able to enter hours in their non-work days. To submit our timesheet, we'd simply click the icon next to the signature field at the bottom of the screen. That's then going to ask us to enter our password to signify our electronic signature. And it's also going to trigger the workflow that's going to automatically alert our supervisor or approver to come in and approve our timesheet. From an approver's perspective, they can simply go onto their desktop, which we'll take a look at in a minute, quickly and easily select all the employees with the timesheets they need to approve, use the navigational buttons at the top of the screen to be able to page through those timesheets with the exact same view that we see here. Then to approve or reject the timesheet, down at the bottom you see the approval field. They'll have two options. The first button is going to be a blue check mark to approve. The second option is going to be a red X. If they reject, they'll be prompted for a reason for rejection. Once they enter that reason for rejection, it's then going to automatically be routed back to the employee for them to revise their timesheet and resubmit. So that's the timesheet side of the application. Now the next thing I want to show you is the desktop. The desktop is essentially a dashboard for the time and expense interface. The first thing you're going to see up in the top left are any tasks. These are going to be items that are pending your action. Just to the right of them are your alerts. These are going to be any updates on your items in the system. So here we see we have a vacation request rejected. We have an expense authorization approved, a cash advance approved, so on and so forth. Below that, you also see My Expenses schedule. Okay, we have the capability to interface with Visa and American Express. If you have corporate credit cards with those companies, you can download a specific statement format for each of those credit cards, upload it right into the system, and then you can actually parse those transactions out by employee, and each employee will be able to quickly and easily select those transactions during the entry of their expense report. This schedule is going to show you all of your outstanding expense transactions. Now what we'll do is transition right over to the expense side of the application. On the expense side of the application, it's comprised of two parts. We have expense authorizations and expense reports. Expense authorizations, just as the name implies, allows us to request authorization to incur an expense. That can be travel, that can be any kind of other non-travel expense as well. Now the expense side of the application is going to be entirely wizard-based. So to create a new expense authorization, I'd click New. It's going to take me through one page after another to enter all the information relevant to complete the header of my expense authorization. It's going to ask me the type of expense. That type is going to drive any rules or validation associated with entering those expenses, as well as the approval chain. So we can have up to 10 approvers for expense reports that can be either sequentially or in parallel. We'll then enter our description. Obviously, the system's going to know our name, and it's also going to know our class. So here we can differentiate between how we want to reimburse expenses for an executive versus maybe a staff employee. We then enter one or more charge numbers that we're going to allocate our expenses across, and a purpose for the expense. Over on the right side, we'll enter the days for our travel, for instance, or when we expect to incur the expense. Now, from a travel perspective, we do have the per diem tables built right into the application. So all you would need to do is identify where you're going, the dates you're going to be there, and the system automatically knows the relevant per diem dates for that location, or per diem amounts for that location. You see we also have the capability, if you choose to offer it, to allow your employees to request a cash advance. Then we simply, in the bottom, click Add to add a line item with an estimated expense prior to clicking the button to submit it for approval. During the approval process, the expense authorization is going to have a variety of schedules for review. The first one here is going to be an approval process for any cash advances, followed by an overall authorization status schedule, a revision schedule, and finally a charge allocation schedule. So if we've elected to use more than one charge number, it's going to show the approver how our expenses are being allocated across those charge numbers. From a user perspective, we can simply do that on a percentage basis before we submit it for approval. Now, if any of you have any travel or any contracts that require customer approval for travel, it's very easy to print an authorization right out of the system. It puts it on a very nice form that you can either save in PDF form or simply print and hand deliver to your customer. And this is an example of that form. Moving on to the expense report itself, very similar layout to the expense authorization. As a matter of fact, if we have an approved expense authorization, we would select it when we begin entering our expense report, and that's going to populate much of the header for us and eliminate a lot of our data entry. You'll see the expense report type, description, again, the employee class, any charge numbers, and purpose for the expense. On the right side, you see our dates, and then you also see the addition of a couple fields in the header. The first one is the amount over ceiling. Now, one of the capabilities we have built into the system is the capability to put a ceiling on reimbursement of expenses. So, for instance, one of the most common uses for those of our clients that choose to reimburse lodging based on actual expenses, but actually cap that reimbursement at per diem, you can certainly do so. Then if the employee has any amount in excess of per diem, based on the employee class even, you can determine whether or not you want to reimburse it. And if you do, if you want to allocate that to a secondary charge number. You see we also have unallowable amounts very clearly visible in the header of the expense report during the approval process. Entering expenses on the expense report is a little different than the authorization. We actually have a separate wizard on the expense report for each type of expense that's going to guide you through entering the relevant information for that expense. For instance, lodging. If we click Add Lodging, it's going to open up a wizard. It's going to ask us, first of all, what's your total lodging bill? It's then going to ask us, what's your daily room rate, daily tax rate, did you have any personal expenses or unallowable expenses? It's then going to automatically populate what our reimbursement is on a daily basis automatically. Meals can be reimbursed at per diem or actual, entirely up to you. And we do have a 75% rule built right in if you do reimburse it per diem for the first and last day of trip, if that applies for the first and last day based on their arrival and departure times. Business meal is a very unique capability here. We have the capability when you enter a business meal, you would identify the purpose for the business meal, which meal it was, so you would identify the day and the specific meal, whether it was breakfast, lunch, or dinner, the amount, and then the list of the attendees. The system is going to automatically check to make sure you haven't also requested reimbursement for per diem, and it's also going to check any of the other attendees you included on that business meal to make sure they also have not requested reimbursement at per diem. We then have the capability to reimburse mileage based on the current standard mileage rate. Down below you see any company paid, advances, personal amounts, etc. are deducted from the expenses to arrive at the amount due the employee. Just like the authorization to submit it, we'd click the icon next to the signature field. That's going to automatically trigger the workflow for the approval process. Again, we have a variety of supporting schedules. The first one shows us any cash advances we've applied to this expense report. The next, our charge allocation. Again, if we're charging to multiple charge numbers, it'll show us how we allocated our expenses across those charge numbers. The next one is our receipt status. We also have a unique capability to allow you to scan your receipts and actually upload those to accompany your expense report through the approval process and stay with that expense report for documentation purposes even after approval. Anybody can come in here and click View Receipts that has access to review the receipts while reviewing the expense report. Below that, we have our report status schedule for our approval status, revision schedule. We can see what our voucher in GCS Premier is going to look like based on this expense report. And then finally, one of my favorites is our labor support schedule. This allows us to review not only the expense report for this employee, but where that employee charged their time on their timesheet while they were incurring this expense or on this trip. Obviously, if we charge all of our time to overhead, we're not going to want to see that the expenses are being charged to a contract, for example. And that essentially completes our demonstration for today. At this point, I'll hand it back to Tony D'Ambrisi, and we'll go into question and answers.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. So at this point, we can take some Q&A, and if you submit your questions, then Dave and I can field those questions through the live meeting. Again, if you go back, can you go back to the slide, Dave, where the second slide, it tells you how to,
I think, yeah.
There we go. This is how you can submit a question. If there are any questions, we don't have any questions in the queue right now. We'll give you guys a minute or two to enter any questions that you may have. So it doesn't look like we have any questions. So we are going to post this online, and again, we want to thank everyone for attending today. We hope you found this webcast useful and helpful, and that's it. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
This concludes today's teleconference. You may now disconnect your lines and have a wonderful day.